But it was some major things in my life that I was not able to achieve at a certain point. And I just like intuitively knew I should be achieving. It's like it doesn't make any sense. The road is clear, at least from, my perspective, from what I could see with, my physical eyes. And I knew that those things were for me, or they were meant for me, but they just weren't manifesting. And it wasn't until I started to get into the Haitian Vodou tradition and I learned about some curses and things like that that were through my ancestral lineage that I had to heal. Greetings, guys. In this video, I am discussing various reasons why your prayers and your rituals aren't working. So herein, when I talk about rituals, I'm talking about definitely the sacrifices and the offerings and things like that we do in spirituality, but also saying affirmations, meditation, visualizations, fasting. All of those things are also considered to be rituals as well. So I'm discussing the more common reasons why I see that people's prayers and their rituals are not working when I address them for myself, I should say first, also my family and friends, and definitely my clients. And so we're going to get into this topic right now. The number one reason I would say is because of spiritual protection or alignment with your destiny. So sometimes all of the work that you do is not moving forward because your spiritual team is actually trying to protect you from going down the wrong path. In certain instances, they will allow you to go down the wrong path so that you learn vital lessons, especially when you continuously push forward and they're trying to block your path and they're trying to stop whatever it is that you're trying to get to. So maybe you're asking for a specific job or something like that, and it's not coming through for you and you're getting angry. Maybe somebody else even so got the job that you're wanting and you're like, what happened here? And so maybe you still push to get that job or even try to get somebody else out of that position, because I've seen that before as well. When somebody didn't get the job or the position that they desired, they got angry with the person who did get the position. And they worked their best to try to get that person out of that job. And, obviously I told them this is not the right direction to go in because you didn't get the job for a reason. And it was most likely because it just wasn't within the scope of your destiny. That's your spirit protecting you. Okay. The number one thing you want to do here is to check before you embark on some really big things, especially like, a job or a mate or, maybe even a trip or something like that. When you're trying to achieve something, just check and get divination done and ask, is this within alignment with what I want to do? I do this all the time, especially when it pertains to my business, because I get a lot of opportunities coming through my email, and some of it is like really interesting rather, and exciting to me, but it's not the best alignment for me. So I have learned to just stop and check, because sometimes it's not even that it's a bad fit, but maybe I'm really busy doing other things at that moment. And my spiritual team is like, okay, you really need to focus on what's going on in your life right now instead of trying to push forward and add new dimensions to your work. Okay, so it could be so many different things. And this is one of the number one things that I tell people to do when it comes to figuring out, what's going on. Is it in alignment with your destiny? Because you don't want to go down that path if it isn't. It makes no sense to do so, right? So that's number one. Number two is having either unclear or contradictory desires when you're praying for something or when you're trying to affirm or manifest something. This happens quite often with people. So what I mean by unclear here is, let's look at this example of you want to manifest abundance in your life. And this is literally what you're saying. Maybe, you're doing affirmations or you even prayed and asked your spiritual team, I want abundance. Well, what is abundance, right? You haven't properly defined what abundance is for you. And it could be that abundance is manifesting in your life, but you're not seeing it because you have no clear definition of what you mean by it. So it could be like you mean abundance by whereby you want more health or it could be you want more happiness or peace, or even so money. It could be something material, love, etc. But you're saying more abundance, and spirit may be actually giving you more abundance, but it could be in a different area of your life than what you're actually desiring. So you're not clear on what that is. Or it could actually be in the same area of your life, but because you didn't really define like what abundance looks like for you, right? So I'm going to use money here because it's pretty quantitative, is easily to quantitate, I should say. So let's say you are looking for more abundance in your job, your business, or whatever finances that you're working with. Could be investments, whatever it may be. So you just say, I want more abundance. Well, more abundance is literally 1 cent more than what you actually have, right? And I know that's pretty dramatic of an example because spirit would probably give you more, but maybe not much more, or maybe not what you're asking for specifically, because you're not quantifying that, right? So you could be saying more. Let's say, for instance, you're currently making $50,000 annually, and you want to double that amount, and you're really wanting to make at least $100,000 annually. But when you're asking for abundance, spirit may give you $10,000 more annually. And you're not seeing it as what you consider to be abundance because it's not manifesting the way you have it in your heart, because you're just saying, I'm abundant, or I have abundance, or you're praying or asking for abundance, or even you did ritual work that, you're trying to manifest abundance into your life. You're verbalizing it, you're saying it, affirmations, which are prayers in and of themselves. Any form of manifestation is a form of prayer. But the point here is for you to really and truly be clear and specific about what you want, right? And specificity can vary depending on what it is. So I don't want to get too deep into that, because an example too would be sometimes people get really specific, especially when it comes to mates. Like, I will literally get requests from people like describing their perfect mate to a T, and they want ritual work for this mate. And so I have to go back and explain, like, this is not how it works, right? You may or may not get there. It's not that it cannot happen, but it's not really the best thing to ask for. The best thing to ask for in a situation like that would be, what aligns with my highest good? Even so, when it comes to abundance for money, it would still be a good idea to say what aligns with my highest good, rather, because you could want to double your income, but it may not be for your highest good, because maybe you don't have great money management skills at that moment. And if your salary all of a sudden double, you will still be in the same financial situation because you don't know how to manage your money well. So it's best to always ask what's, for my highest good. But when it comes to something like money, it is sometimes okay to say something specific, especially if that's what you need. So maybe you're trying to pay off debt and you do have good money management skills and you want to get your debt paid off much sooner, right? And so asking for that extra amount, knowing that you're going to use that extra $50,000 a year or what have you to pay off that debt, that's not a bad thing to ask for, okay? But even with that, when it comes to asking for money, I say also ask for at least that amount. Don't ask for an exact figure. Like, I want to be, I just want $1 million, for instance, right? Say that you want at least that amount, or $1 million plus, $1 million more, however it comes out for you, because that's important too. Sometimes spirit will just give you exactly what you asked for. And so, if you actually want more than that, but that's kind of like your standard, it's great to ask for it that way. But going back to the example about, the love situation, you do want to be careful, especially when it comes to physical traits and characteristics, because that's normally the biggest thing. Like, they want somebody to look a certain way, they want somebody to act a certain way. And that may just not be what you need. So, it's always best to ask for anything that's within your highest good anytime you're praying or you're doing ritual work. Okay. Another thing would be contradictory, right? Contradictory messages that you're sending out to spirit. So you may be asking for a mate or something like that. And spirit is actually bringing you people, but you refuse to communicate with those people. Maybe you're shy, or maybe you feel like this isn't the one, because again, you might have an idea of what you want and what should be showing up at your table, but that's not what spirit actually has for you. And so you're trying to align yourself with the wrong thing. Or it could be something like your ideal mate is actually showing up, is there with you, but you're pushing this person away from you, maybe by your attitude, your mentality, things like that. In both of these instances, whether your messaging, your prayers, or what have you are unclear or contradictory, usually this is an issue with your self-worth, your identity, your self-confidence, things like that. And so you want to do some inner work to heal that. Herein, a lot of the affirmations, the meditation, manifestation type of work will be really great for you in this particular instance, because those things are going to help you to heal your thinking. So that way, when the things that you desire come your way, you're able to not only recognize it, but grab a hold of it and keep it long term. Number 3, there are spiritual blockages. It could either be from somebody else, it could be an ancestral blockage, or it could be a blockage from your own bad karma. Okay, so obviously a spiritual blockage from someone else would look like somebody putting some kind of curse, hex, or something like that on you. When it comes to like your ancestors, it could be like you're not properly connected to your ancestors, or your ancestors are not in a great place in the spiritual realm for them to be able to help you out at an optimal level. And it could also be that you have some bad ancestral karma going on. So it could be some kind of curse or hex from your bloodline. I know I had this issue with some things in my life that caused some blockages, caused me from being able to get the things that were inherently mine. They were part of my spiritual inheritance. And I was not able to get those things until I cleared out some blockages. And it was just certain things. It wasn't my whole life, fortunately, but it was some major things in my life that I was not able to achieve at a certain point. And I just like intuitively knew I should be achieving. It's like it doesn't make any sense. The road is clear, at least from, my perspective, from what I could see with, my physical eyes and all around me. And, it just didn't make any sense. And I knew that those things were for me, or they were meant for me, but they just weren't manifesting. And it wasn't until I started to get into the Haitian Vodou tradition and I learned about some curses and things like that that were through my ancestral lineage that I had to heal. And I did, fortunately. I've done a lot of work in that area, still doing work, because this is a continual process. And so when I did that work, certain things were able to manifest in my life like I desired them to manifest. And so that was a blessing there as well. Also, when it comes to ancestors, so beyond, any type of curse or what have you, it could just be that you need to connect with them. As I said before, you just need to heal that particular dynamic. Another thing could be that you're out of alignment with your Ori, your higher self, because you're not walking in good character. You're doing some things and your Ori is saying, no, you're not going to get what you want in this particular instance because you are not walking in Iwapele, which is good character. So you need to straighten it out, and your Ori can and absolutely does block out your blessings. And for those of you all who aren't familiar with the Ifa tradition, or in this case, is what most people call the higher self, right? That part of your consciousness that is directly connected to Olodumare, or what many call the supreme creator, supreme being, or what have you. And so just like everybody else, you can also suffer, punishment and not your Ori not accept good things that are meant for you on your behalf because of the things that you're doing. So you need to clear that depth up. And pretty much this is going to be the solution. So the first solution is definitely to do ritual work. If it's some kind of curse or hex, you definitely need to get ritual work done to remove that negative energy from you, but also work on something within yourself. Because if somebody was allowed to do some type of hex work or cursing on you, that's because you probably were open by your own misdeeds and your own character, right? Because most of the time, your spirit is going to protect you, especially if you are connected spiritually. You do the work, and you're walking in a rightful way. I'm not saying be perfect because none of us are perfect. None of us will ever be perfect. However, there are basic things that you should be doing, and also, adhering to your taboos. My word just reminded me, say the taboos as well, because it could be something that is not considered necessarily bad character, but if you are violating your taboos, knowingly or unknowingly, because most people violate them unknowingly if they're not connected to tradition or something like that, you could be blocking your own blessings and you just don't even know. It could be something that you're eating that could be causing you problems. Maybe you aren't supposed to eat fish or something like that, for instance, but you're doing so, and that's blocking your blessings. Okay. It could be the color that you're wearing. You could be wearing some color, red, black, or something like that, that is actually taboo for you, and your blessings are being blocked through those things. So definitely be mindful of that as well, because those are some really big things. Beyond, somebody else cursing or hexing you, obviously, if it's an issue with your ancestral lineage, you want to make those connections right. You want to go and do the ancestral connection work and or elevation work. Okay. If you're not strongly working with your ancestors, I suggest definitely doing the elevation work first. And this is something continuous, not like just one time. I do elevation work continuously, at least once a year for my ancestors. Why? Because I want them in a good space, good place, so that I can be in a good place, because it's a reciprocal relationship there. So you definitely want to work with those spirits. The next part of that is appeasing your Ori. So when you do ritual work unto your Ori, the first thing about it, definitely the sacrifices and the offerings can help your Ori, elevate your Ori really quickly so it can start to work on your behalf. But beyond that, you still need to walk in good character, right? So it's not like a substitute where, you just give an offering, fish or what have you to Ori, and all of a sudden things are good for you. No, you still need to walk in good character. The sacrifice of the offering is to basically atone for, you not adhering to your taboos, maybe, or for you not walking in good character, things of that nature. So once those things are rectified, then you need to walk in proper character and adhere to your taboos and things like that, and you'll be okay. Okay, so those are some very important things to do in that particular instance. Also, when it comes to the notion of hexes and curses and things like that, watch the company that you keep. Be careful with oversharing your details and your information and things of that nature, because those things can cause you to continuously have issues in these particular areas. The fourth thing I want to mention as a reason why your prayers or your ritual work are not work is because you're not either paying attention to or you're misinterpreting the signs that your prayers and your ritual work is absolutely working, because it could be, and you're just not seeing it. Most of the time this happens because you want it to happen a certain way and it is not manifesting the way that you desire it to work. Most of the time, for the average person, I see this occurring because they want to see instantaneous results, whatever it may be, whether it's health, whether it's a mate, whether it's finances or even so spiritual growth and transformation. It could be anything. But oftentimes, especially when it comes to traditions like the African spirituality and things like that, and somebody who's not familiar with it, they want things to just voila, be there. And these traditions are a way of life. They're not magic where you can just go and do some kind of ritual and then all of a sudden everything in your life is just okay. That's not how it works. Sometimes it works instantaneously, sometimes it doesn't. But because it's not moving as fast or it's not moving like the way you thought it would move, you assume that it's not working, but you're not really looking at the signs the proper way. So, for instance, it could be a situation with health. You're trying to manifest better health and you've been praying for it, you even did ritual work for it. And instead of everything just all of a sudden being good and you having perfect health and you desire, instead, your spirit may be showing you different ways to eat healthier, maybe just inspiring you to eat healthy. All of a sudden, you start to desire healthier foods. You don't want the bad foods that you've been eating before. All of a sudden, you just decide to do a cleanse and heal your body through that way, that mechanism. That's your spirit not only inspiring you, but giving you the energy to do so, especially if it's something that you've never done before, or if it's difficult for you to get into that particular energy. Your spirit is like, okay, let's get this going. Let's make this happen. And all of a sudden you have the energy, you have the stamina, the motivation, the courage, or what have you, to do whatever it takes to get the job done. That's your prayers being answered, even so your ritual work being answered. Because as I said before, it is not always going to just be like drop on a dime, everything is good. And so it could be happening little by little, especially if it's a process of cleansing. If it's a process of you cleaning up your diet or your livity rather, and things like that. Oftentimes, especially health works that way. It's gradual because it needs to be. Because if you are healed instantaneously and you don't address the underlying issues of why you got sick in the first place, you're just going to get sick again because you'll go back to that same lifestyle. You actually never leave that particular lifestyle. So for instance, if you're dealing with, some kind of cancer or something like that, that's caused from, let's say, smoking, and you just keep smoking, your cancer is healed, you keep smoking, what's going to happen? Same thing. So spirit is going to first work with you in those instances to help you to stop the negative behavior. Sometimes it will happen instantaneously, and obviously you will know that, so that would be an example of your prayers actually working. But herein, we're talking about the dynamic of it seeming like it's not working, but it actually is working. So that's another example there. And the fifth thing that I want to talk about is misalignment with time. So sometimes your prayers will be answered, or they're in the works. The answer is in the work, is forthcoming. And you may not see any of those signs or anything like that manifesting, as I just mentioned in the last sign. However, they are on their way. They are on their way. They're coming. So you may be impatient. You're not seeing things happening right away, but it doesn't mean that they won't happen, especially when it comes to ritual work. Because ritual work, sometimes it could be 3 to 12 months out before you see that manifest, even longer in some cases, usually not that far out. Just depends on the ritual work and what it takes, but you may see part of it manifest within that time frame, and it could even be longer. But typically you should see it coming out within a year, within a 12-month cycle. And it may be that you need to do some additional stuff in the future to pull it all out. It just depends on each person's scenario. Either way it goes, you definitely want to be very, very careful to be patient when it comes to this. Like, everything isn't going to come out right away. It's going to come out in the right time when you need it the most, or when you just need it to happen, period. And in being patient, that's the solution to that one. You'll see it come to fruition. And I will say too, keeping a positive mindset, because if you start to become negative over it, then sometimes you can negate the results, right? Things can start to manifest and come to you, but you have a negative mindset, so you start to push them away, and you don't want to do that. So stay positive, keep yourself surrounded by positive people, by positive things, consuming things that are going to keep you encouraged in your period of waiting. So those are the 5 things that I want to talk about here, guys. It's a very, very important message because I do get these types of questions quite often. If you have any, questions, or you have anything even to add to this and from your own experience, or maybe from people, your family, your friends, people you work with, etc., definitely leave those things in the comments area, because I would love to see, other people's take on what's going on in relation to these particular dynamics. With that, I'm going to go ahead and close up here, guys. Ashe, please have a very blessed and beautiful day and beyond.